Welcome to Medical Student Life in Japan, a podcast created by a teacher and a group of medical students at Nara Medical University.
Our members are Yuriko, a third-year medical student, Gento, Taiga, Taika, Koichi, and Misaki, all second-year medical students, Yuka, a second-year nursing student, Suguru and Koshiro, both first medical students, and our teacher, Michael.
We are a small medical college in the Kansai region of Japan. This podcast has two great purposes.
One is to share stories about being a medical student here in Japan.
And also for our students to share fun ideas, opinions, and information about Japanese culture to people all over the world.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot
a lot for listening.
Okay, hello Koshiro and hello Suguru.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, and here we are today at Medical Student Life in Japan, and we're going to try something a little different than usual. Usually we tell stories about medical college or Japanese culture, but in today's podcast, the students are going to share about their interests and also recommend other podcasts. So each student has done a little research and picked out a podcast that is interesting to them, and they're going to share a little information about that. And hopefully our listeners, if they're interested, maybe can go and find those podcasts and give them a try as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Koshiro, can you tell us about your interest?
Yeah, I'm interested in Marvel movie and also Kung Fu.
Okay, what do you mean by Marvel movies? I'm a little familiar, but for those people who are not familiar, what are Marvel movies?
Marvel movie is made from comic books written in America.
Hmm. And what kind of stories, what kind of comic book stories? Can you give an example?
It's kind of hero comics, and there are many heroes, and they fight with villains.
What are some of the heroes that you remember from the Marvel movies?
I think most famous hero is Iron Man.
Iron Man. Okay, great. Yeah, I know Iron Man. Iron Man is. I've seen some of those with my kids.
Oh,
Iron Man. Yep. Captain America.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So some of those hero characters, great. And so you like Marvel movies,
Yes.
and you like Kung Fu. And I remember that you like Kung Fu from our previous episode.
Yeah.
So were you able to find a podcast that kind of matches your interests?
Yes, I found a podcast about Marvel movie talking about the Kung Fu.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so it was perfect topic for me.
That's great.
Yes.
What's the name of the podcast, and can you tell us a little more detail about it?
Yeah, the podcast name is MBEC Podcast, and they are talking about various topics. So not only like movies, but also they want to talk about other social topic or many other things.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And then you tried to listen to an episode. What was the episode about that you listened to?
The episode was about the Marvel movies, and they were talking about the Shang-Chi, the latest Marvel movie.
Oh, okay. And have you seen that movie?
Yes.
You have. Okay. Is it good?
Yeah, I like it very much.
You like it. Okay. Would that be your favorite Marvel movie or near the top?
I think it's the most favorite movie for me.
Wow. Okay, so perfect. Okay. And then what do they talk about in that particular episode? Just maybe some highlights, like what kind of things do they discuss about the movie?
They discussed about the review of the movie first, and then they were talking about the background of the movie made. And
Did they have any interesting trivia about the background that was interesting to you?
Actually, I also knew that, but
Oh,
like,
did you? Okay.
yeah.
Now it is your favorite
So
movie,
Marvel
so
movie
maybe.
is very popular. So
Hmm.
and the CG is very gives us a lot of impact, and
Oh yeah.
so that's why it cost a lot of money, and they were talking
yes.
about that. And
Mm.
yeah, so I knew about that, and so I don't have friends talking about Marvel movie in
Okay.
NMU, so like I
Mm.
was happy to hear like he's also familiar with the Marvel movie.
That's great. Yeah, I like that you said that because yeah, sometimes there's some topics you might be interested in, and maybe not everyone else is interested. But yeah, these days, because we can be so connected through the internet, for example, and of course podcasts, you can find someone else who has a similar interest. That's great. Perfect. Okay, so we'll add the list of the podcast mentioned by the students in our show notes. So our listeners, after listening to our episode, maybe they can look at the show notes, and if they're interested as well, they can try to listen about the Marvel movie podcast. Great, thanks, Koshiro. Let's move on to Suguru. Suguru,
Yeah.
what kind of interest do you have besides, of course, studying hard in medical college?
Yeah, I'm interested in horror story.
Horror stories. I also like horror stories.
Oh, great.
So this might be a good podcast for me. Since you're interested in horror stories, what kind of a podcast did you research and find?
Named Horror Nights, and the theme
Horror
is
Nights.
Bus Stop Horror Nights, yeah.
Mm.
And the theme is Bus Stop Horror Story.
Okay, bus stop horror story. Okay, could you tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah, of course. The character is a man. He goes to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and he always uses bus.
Mm.
Yeah, but one day he was miss a bus,
Oh,
and
okay.
and he was waiting in the bus shelter, and he was waiting longer than usual. And 1 hour later, he found there is something at the corner, and he found it a creepy guy, and he seems drinking or taking some drug,
Mhm.
and he comes here, so he focused on the smartphone, but the man sit next to him, and he asked him, where is the bus? So he answered, it's too late, maybe because of the snow. But the creepy guy staring at him, so he was scared. So he pretended to touch the smartphone.
Mm.
But he coming more closer. So he looked at the guy.
Mm.
The guy asked him, are you okay? With glossy eyes.
Mhm.
And the man, he is scared. Then the guy scratches his arms suddenly. So he runs away without looking back. And he went to the next bus stop, and he checked. There is nobody in the back. So he relieved. But someone knocked the bus shelter's door. So, and look. So this is a creepy guy again.
Uh-oh.
And he was walking around the shelter. So he said, I'm warning, stay back.
Mm.
And he's in panic. He wants to run, but he has a bag, so he can't run away. Then suddenly, the creepy guy was fainted on the ground and bleeding from his face
Wow.
and never respond to him. So he called the police and paramedics and told what had happened.
Hmm.
I couldn't understand the final part of the story clearly, but maybe the guy was taking too much drug,
Mhm.
and also he was taken away from treatment.
Oh,
So and also the guy is similar to the character.
similar, like looks similar or similar
Looks,
age?
yeah,
Oh,
looks
okay.
similar. So
Oh,
maybe that have relationships, but
hmm.
I couldn't understand clearly.
Oh, that's okay. No, that was really good. That is creepy. I can imagine. I can easily imagine taking the bus at nighttime and
Yeah.
yeah, that would be scary. Um, do you think this is a true story or is this a made up story?
Yeah, maybe it is a true story
Okay.
because
Oh,
the speaker talks
hmm.
he experienced.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be scary. And about how long is one episode on this podcast?
It's only 3 to 6 minutes.
Okay, so that's nice and short, but a lot of details in the story to make it fun. Great. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a great recommendation. And then Koshiro, how long was one episode on the podcast that you
Um,
mentioned?
the one I saw was I listened was
Hmm,
about 11 minutes.
11 minutes. Okay, so also kind of a nice short time, not too long. Okay, great. Well, thanks, guys, for sharing those podcasts. They both sound fun. I think I'll have to have a listen myself, and we'll add the details to the show notes for our listeners. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.